guys, it's Leia with Yoga del Sol, here to bring you some back pain relief today. So let's go ahead and get started. We will begin on our backs. Actually, let's begin with a child's pose. So for a child's pose, you want your knees mat distance apart, your big toes can touch, and you're just gonna settle your hips towards your heels, towards the earth. Lift your chest up, stretch the spine like a string is pulling the spine towards the sky. Then you're gonna lead with your heart and melt the heart forward. So take your fingertips to the mat, come into an extended child's pose so the heart melts towards the mat. Stretch the fingertips and the hands out on the mat, and then bring your forehead, third eye to the ground. And let's take 5 deep breaths here. So breathe all the way down to your belly as you inhale. And exhale all the air out completely. Think of your hips melting more towards the mat. Maybe you can walk your fingertips out a little bit in front of you, bringing the heart closer to the ground. Just surrender here. It's a time to let go, be present. One more breath. Good. Then walk your hands back towards your body. And we're going to come onto our bottoms and then just lay down on the mat. So when you come into any discomfort, on the edge of any pain or discomfort, you want to come into your breath. So focusing on the breath here to become present and ground ourselves, clearing out some stagnant energy. We're gonna lay long here on the mat. Let your arms come down by your sides. Keep the palms on the mat today. Take a breath here. Feel how the mat, the earth, supports your body. Beautiful. Let's take both feet onto the mat. You're going to cross your right ankle on top of the left knee. Keep the feet flexed. And you're going to pick the left thigh up and interlace your fingers behind the thigh if you can, bringing the thigh closer to your body. Keeping the feet flexed for the moment. Take 3 breaths here, giving yourself permission to just move with your breath, bringing the legs closer to your body as you exhale. Good. Let's switch out the legs. Both feet come to the mat. Crossing the left ankle over the right knee. Grab, interlacing the fingers behind that thigh. And just adding a little bit of pull behind that right thigh as you breathe, releasing any clenching or tension. And if you can't interlace behind the thigh, just keep your hands on the ground. One more breath here. Good. Take both feet onto the mat just for a moment. Good. Then you're gonna hug both knees into the chest here. And we're just slowly gonna rock from side to side. Maybe the legs touch or maybe they're apart, but just rock from side to side, keeping the head on the mat, massaging the lower back in to the ground, breathing, expanding the entire torso, the front and the back. Good. Then you're going to take hands to the front of the knees and roll the legs in circles. So moving them one way, drawing circles with your lower back into the mat. Continuing to breathe in and out of the nose, in and out of the belly. Great. Now let's roll circles the opposite way. So with the hands gently moving the legs to the opposite way, feeling circles being drawn into the mat with the lower back. Good. Then you're going to cross your feet at the ankles, engage the core, and we're going to come up to sitting. So you're going to rock back and forth until you come up, or just push yourself up to a comfortable seated position here. We're going to cross the legs however you're most comfortable to begin with. And let's take our hands, interlacing them together, bring them into a fist, and bring the fist underneath the chin. Inhale here. And exhale as you push the fist towards the chin, bringing the neck looking back behind you, and then open up with the elbows. Growing the spine long, the mid-spine, thoracic spine still reaches towards the sky while keeping the core engaged. And you can skip this if it's making you dizzy. Good. Bring the head slowly back down to center, releasing the hands to the thighs, to the legs for a moment. Good. Interlace the fingers again. Bring the hands behind the head, keeping the elbows wide. You're going to look up at the sky. Again, growing the spine long. Deep breaths. Looking up. Good. Coming back down, head to center. You're going to walk the hands out in front of you, and we're just going to fold over our legs, letting the head be heavy, keeping the sit bones plugged into the mat. Walk the hands over to the right side, and maybe that left hand comes a little bit on top or in front of that right hand. Big side body stretch on the left. Good. Walk the hands all the way over to the right side of the mat. And maybe that right hand comes a little bit in front or on top of that left. Breathing into the entire torso, the front, the back. One more breath. Good. Walk your hands back to center, and the hands come back towards your body. We're going to sit the opposite way, so the other leg comes on top. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Pull the hands back behind you, shoulders away from the ears. Deep breath here. Bring the breath into the upper back. Look up if you can. Good. Undo the fingers, take them out in front of you, and just fold forward. Try to keep the sit bones plugged into the mat. This side is probably more uncomfortable, excuse me. Walk the hands over to the right side. Walk the hands all the way over to the left side. Keeping the heart towards the ground, trying not to have a hunch in the back. Good. Walk the hands back towards center and bring the hands back towards your body. We're going to come into all fours. Shoulders over wrists and hips over knees. We're going to take some cat-cows here. So drop the belly, bring the heart through the arms, gaze up to the sky. Tilt the tailbone up to the sky. Good, and on your next exhale, press the mat away from you, chin to chest, cat. Dropping the tailbone. Take a couple breaths in cat. Really bringing that belly button in, up towards the spine. Hollowing it out. Inhale, cow, drop the belly, gaze up. Exhale, cat. Move with the breath. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And exhale, cat. Good. Come back to a neutral spine. We're going to walk the hands out in front of us. Spread the fingers as wide as you can, pressing all 10 fingers into the mat, the tips of the fingers, the knuckles of the fingers. Uncurl the toes, and we're going to come up into a down dog. So bring the hips high into the sky. Press the mat away from you. Bring the shoulders away from the ears by kind of spinning the hands into the mat, then pressing the mat away from you. Melting the chest towards the thighs. You can pedal the legs out one by one, stretching out the backs of the legs. Whatever feels organically nice here to stretch the back body, go ahead and take what you need. Head is heavy, so the ears are in between the arms here. Then let's just stand still and strong in our down dog. So press into the tips of the fingers, into the knuckles. Press the mat away from you. Try to straighten the legs out, heels towards the mat. They don't need to touch. As you can see, I've been practicing for probably 15 years. My heels do not touch. That's perfectly okay. Keep the shoulders melting away from the ears, pressing the fingers into the mat like you're opening pickle jars, keeping the core engaged. Good. Walk the feet up towards the top of the mat. They come in between the hands. And we're just going to bow down the head. So bend the knees, let the head fall heavy here. And let's wrap our hands behind our knees or behind our calves, depending on how deep your bend is. And then shake your head out, yes and no, keeping your feet grounded, keeping your balance. Still breathing into the back body. Maybe you can take the hands to the shins, but opposite hand to opposite shin. So the hands can come through the legs to the front of the shins. And that just helps open the shoulders a bit, keeping the head heavy, keeping the knees bent. Good. Take the fingertips onto the mat and start to straighten out the legs as much as you can, bringing the tailbone, lifting it towards the sky, shining the backs of the knees towards the wall behind you. So hands are maybe on the shins here or on the thighs as we look out, halfway lift, stretch that spine out in front of you. So keeping the core engaged to protect the back. Shoulders roll away from the ears, flat back here. Good, then fold forward again. So walk your hands down towards your feet. Bend the knees if you need to. Let the head be heavy. Shake the head out, yes and no. Let's add a little extra weight here. Grab onto the elbows and sway from side to side in a ragdoll, keeping grounded in your feet. Grab opposite elbow and sway back and forth. Tailbone still lifted, breath still towards the belly. And we're going to root to rise. Let the arms be heavy like zombie arms. Press into your feet. Roll yourself up to standing here. Head comes up last. And we stand up tall, feet hip distance apart, right underneath the hips. Tuck the tailbone under slightly. Bring the chin back over the spine so the spine is aligned. Arms down by your sides. Take a breath here. Roll the shoulders away from the ears a couple of times. So bring them up towards the ears and down your back. Then interlace the fingers behind your back. Take a breath here. Arms by your side. Hands come to prayer in front of heart center. Lift the arms up by the ears, keeping the tailbone reaching towards the earth. We're going to stretch up and back, lifting the mid-spine, growing tall, and then back a bit, but keep yourself grounded in your feet. Then bending the knees, keeping the core engaged. We're going to reach forward as the hands come back towards the mat. Beautiful. Plant the hands to the outsides of the feet this time. Bow down. Look out in front of you. Then step both legs back. My hair is all over the place today. I'm sorry. And we're going to come into a plank or plank on your knees. So come into a plank where your shoulders are right over your wrists. Your core is engaged. Your feet are hip distance apart. And maybe your knees are on the ground. Just strengthen the core here for a moment, helping to strengthen the back. Keeping the belly button sucked into the spine. The neck is long, so crown is reaching out. The crown of the head's reaching out. Your gaze is towards the ground. One more breath. Press back into a down dog. So if your knees are on the mat, lift the knees up. Back to down dog. Walk the dog out, or maybe you shift the hips from side to side, just stretching here. You're going to look at your right knee here. So look at the right knee. And just bring that right knee forward. We're going to come into half pigeon. So the knee comes forward and it drops down behind that right wrist. And the foot is behind the left wrist. Then you're going to slide that back leg out behind you, uncurling the toes and walking the hands back so you can sink your hips down towards the mat. So try to keep the spine straight, sink the hips towards the mat. Maybe you come onto the toes, back toes for a moment and try to sink a little bit lower, the hips towards the mat. Then come back to the toes. Come to your breath. Then you're going to take your hands back towards the front and walk the hands out in front of you. And maybe you stay on your hands, maybe you stay on your forearms, or maybe you try to bring the forehead to the mat as we completely surrender. Come into your breath here. Again, when you're on the verge of anything painful. You don't want any acute pain. Back off if you feel any acute, sharp pain. But any discomfort you can get through here with your breath. So I am breathing in love. I am breathing out love. This is great for the sciatic nerve and lower back pain, hip pain. Couple more breaths here. Deepen the breath, deepen the stretch. Good. Take your hands onto the mat, and you're going to come on to the left toes. Engage the core as you bring that right leg out and up behind you for three-legged dog. So that right leg is in the sky. The inner thigh is twisting up towards the sky as your toes melt towards the mat. A lot of core strength here. Bend that knee so the foot falls towards the bottom. Then just roll circles here with this knee. So with the right knee, you're drawing big circles in the air. Then draw circles the opposite way. Good, then lower that foot down to the ground, keeping your fingers pressing into the mat. Now we got the left side to do, so look at the left knee as you send it forward, bringing it behind that left wrist, and the foot is behind the right wrist. Slide that leg out behind you, walk the hands back, try to get your hips closer to the mat. Come on to the back toenails as you sink a little bit, ground down. Maybe you come onto the tips of the toes for a moment, opening the stretch here, then back down to the toenails. One side is always different. Good, then let's bring your hands out in front of you, and maybe you stay here, maybe you have a pillow or a block, or maybe you come on to rest on the forearms or the forehead. And go ahead and just surrender, come into the breath. Try not to clench. One more breath. Good. You're going to come on to the hands. And we're going to come into a three-legged dog again. So you're going to come on to the tips of the right toes. And bring the left leg out and up. So engage that core. Bring the left leg out and up behind you. Toes pointing towards the ground. Engaging that glute. Pressing the mat away from you. Bending that knee so the foot falls towards the bottom. You're going to roll circles here. Then roll circles the opposite way. Opening up that hip. Straighten the leg out. Lower the foot. Come back to a down dog for a moment. Good. You're going to step that right foot forward. So bring the right leg up into the sky, then step it to the outside of the right hand. So then you're going to bring the left foot outside of the left hand. We're going to come into a yogi squat here. My hair is insane today. So your feet are mat distance apart. You can kind of stand up to get into this deep squat that opens the hips and the low back. Then you're going to squat down. Keep the spine long. You can take your hands to prayer, and the elbows maybe help to open the knees. Come into your breath here. Let go of clenching in the hips again. Just melt your root towards, your root chakra is located down here. Melt it towards the mat. Keep your heart shining, spine long. Breathe in and out of the nose. Relax into this. If you're thinking, ooh, 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 ow, 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 you're not going to deepen. Just keep breathing through it. One more breath. Good. Take your hands onto the mat and bring your hips up high. So feet are mat distance apart. We're just going to fold forward here. So take your hands to the ground. Maybe the palms face the sky and the back of the hands come to the mat. You can keep your knees straight or keep a little micro bend in them. And shake your head out, yes and no. Sending breath into the belly and the low back. Good, you're gonna take your hands, plant them into the mat as you heel toe your feet back underneath your hips. Then look out with a flat spine, so hands come to the shins maybe, or the thighs. Belly button in towards the spine. Good. You're gonna take your right palm, plant it right in front of you. You're gonna keep the left leg straight, bend the right knee, and bring that left arm up into the sky. So peel your heart open towards the sky, gaze up. Try to keep your neck still attached to the spine so you're not looking all around. Good, let's switch the hands out. Left hand comes where the right was, keeping the right leg straight this time. The left knee is bent. Bring the right arm up. Pressing the mat away from you a bit to open the chest towards the sky. Good, lower that hand down to the mat. Can you come onto your tippy toes for a moment? And then just lowering your bottom down. So coming down to the mat, lower your bottom down. And we're gonna lay long on the mat here. So take your legs out first, and then slowly lower down to the mat. Good, be careful with yourself. We're gonna hug our knees into our chest for a little counter stretch here. Rock from side to side, keep the head on the mat. Good. Plant your feet onto the ground. Your feet are hip distance apart. Your knees are bent, and then your heels are towards your bottom, so you can grace your heels with your fingertips. As we come into a bridge pose, you're going to press into your feet, bring the hips high, and try to roll the shoulder blades underneath you. Keep the hips high. Maybe you reach to interlace the fingers together. Breathe here. Pressing your feet into the mat. One more breath. Good. Remove the hands if they're interlaced. Slowly roll from the top of your spine all the way down to your tailbone. Then windshield wipe the knees from side to side. So just let them fall from side to side. Good. You're going to bring the left leg out long and hug around that right knee. Bring it in towards your chest. And on your exhales, as you breathe deeper, you should pull the knee a little bit towards the side. So towards the right side. Keep that left heel in the mat, both feet flexed. One more breath. And let's move this knee around in circles here. So with the guidance of your hands, move the knee a bit around a bit. Move it the other way. Good. Then place that leg on the mat as you bring the left knee towards the body. Interlace your fingers together in front of that knee. Both feet flexed. Bring the knee over to the side a bit, over to the left side on your exhales, and hug it in a little bit tighter. One more breath. Then roll this knee around in circles one way. Then roll it the opposite way. Good. Then you're going to take that leg, straighten it out in front of you. Final Shavasana, so let the feet splay open to the front corners of the mat. Bring your arms down by your sides. Bring your shoulder blades in and underneath you as the palms face open to receive and also to give. Just let all of the bones settle into the mat. And give yourself permission to just let go here. Let your breath become normal. Notice that thoughts will try to pop up, but just take those thoughts and place them each individually on leaves. And then send those leaves floating down a long, gorgeous, sparkling stream. One by one, do not attach to the thoughts, let them go. Of course, we notice what arises in our mind. But the real strength is to just observe and let the thoughts go here for a couple of minutes. Take as long as you need. Namaste.